page was an op-ed titled "Revealing Errors: Iran, Jews, and the Holocaust, an Answer to Mr. Black" by Abbas Milani. I read the words on the screen. In early January of this year, a prominent American journalist published a strangely inaccurate attack on Iran, making the country complicit in the crimes of the Holocaust. He claims that if we look at Iran's Hitler-era past, we will discover, quote, that Iran and Iranians were strongly connected to the Holocaust and the Hitler regime, end quote. The facts of history are just the opposite of what Mr. Black has claimed. As early signs of the murderous final solution became visible, the Iranian government of the time convinced the Nazi race experts in Germany that Iranian Jews had lived in Iran for over 2,500 years and were fully assimilated citizens of Iran and must be afforded all the rights of such citizens. The Nazis accepted this argument, and the lives of all Iranian Jews living under the Nazi yoke were saved. Moreover, when the Nazi killing machines began their slaughter of innocent Polish Jews, 1,388 Jews, including 871 children, were moved to Tehran, where they lived in relative safety till they moved to Israel. History of contemporary Iranian Jews has provided an account of what are called the Tehran children. I stared at the screen for a long time, then back at Salar, then sat down and read the piece more carefully. The Tehran children, including my father Hannan, Hananya, his sister Rivka, Regina, and their cousin Noemi, Emma, were Polish-born child refugees who in 1943 came to Palestine via Iran. But until that moment, I had never thought of the Tehran in that phrase as an actual place. That my father was a Tehran child I had always taken for granted as simply a fact about who he was, like the fact that he had straight, slightly coarse black hair that he combed back and small, slanted blue eyes, or that he died on October 10, 1993, a year after he retired from the Israeli Air Force, where he had served for 48 years. And though I am a scholar of comparative literature and trained to read across national boundaries, until that moment I could not imagine the story of the Tehran children in any other context than the one I had internalized while growing up in Israel, as a successful rescue mission of Jewish children by the World Zionist Organization. My father's story was an Israeli story, a part of the country's mythology, and therefore it could not figure in the historical narrative of any other nation, not least one that had become, more recently, a political antagonist. I didn't even think of my father as a Holocaust survivor. Survivors had a muted aura of shame and anxiety in the Israel of my youth, but Tehran children were Israelis, kibbutzniks, army generals, media personalities, industrialists. They were not Europe's rejected, but Israel's desired, the lucky ones who had been rescued by the burgeoning Jewish state. Growing up, whenever I was asked if my father was a survivor, I would answer, no, he was not. He was a Tehran child. The leading scholars in my field of comparative literature, René Welleck, Eric Auerbach, and others, had been refugees. Welleck was born in Vienna and escaped to the United States in 1939. The German-born Auerbach was a refugee in Turkey and later the United States. They did not write about the refugee experience, but composed, as refugees, odes to national literatures and to a unified, stable European canon. The two foremost 20th century historians of the nation, Erich Hobsbawm and Ernest Gellner, were also refugees. Hobsbawm was born in Alexandria, Egypt, to Jewish parents from Poland and Austria, spent his early childhood in Vienna and Berlin, fled to London in 1933, and served during the war in the British Royal Engineers and Royal Army Corps. Gellner was born in Paris, raised in Prague, and escaped.